somebody that you feel you are getting some help from their guidance, then but you don't have to do it necessarily like formally or anything like that, or choose one and then say, I'm not going to listen to anybody else. You can have a primary person, if they teach a form of meditation that resonates with you, and their teaching style, then you should continue with it, as long as you feel that you are making some kind of progress. It doesn't mean you couldn't listen to anybody else, but like the guru relationship that you find in some other traditions, some strong bond, that's kind of discouraged within Theravada Buddhism, and taking the guru's every word to be truth, and without questioning it, or doing something that you feel maybe not that good. Like, there's been plenty of examples of that in the last years. I'm not going to mention those, but most people know about it. The teacher sometimes taking advantage of students for some reasons, and then causing some problems. So anyway, the short answer is it's kind of a yes and no. It's good to have somebody that you can have easy access to, and that you sort of trust their guidance and so on. But it doesn't entail some kind of unshakable bond or anything. I mean, the person can be free to leave that person if they think they got as much as they could. Move on. Okay, I think we're going to start now because it's 2:00.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we'll start with reciting Namo Tassa and the three refuges for those who like. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Sanghang Saranang Gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. So welcome to this Sunday afternoon Dhamma program. We're continuing our look at the Dhammapada, the verses of the Dhammapada. But before that, just to say a few marks about what Arthur, the question that I was just addressing before we started the chanting. Arthur, are you still there? So, so we just took the refuge, right? So in relationship to what the question you asked, we take as our teacher the Buddha, right? And the Dhamma. So, that's sort of our teacher. Of course, it's kind of removed, right? So we're following his teaching the best as we can, but at the same time, like myself, I might give a Dhamma talk with my some own interpretations or some added parts about, let's say, okay, the Buddha never mentioned about practicing yoga exercise per se, but, I tend to, encourage people to do that, especially if they're stiff or to use some deep, slow breathing. So I might say some things that may not be exactly word but for word that you find in the suttas. But if people find it helpful, it doesn't contradict anything really. And if they find it helpful, so, even though we take the Buddha as our teacher, because he's not alive, of course, but we have the Dhamma, but still we can listen to Dhamma talks by different monks or even lay people. And, that might be oriented toward a more modern era, for example, and get some inspiration for that. So it doesn't mean we, abandon the Buddha. Anyway, so to continue off where we were going on last week, this week I want to start looking at the verses in chapter 2 of the Dhammapada, which is the Appamada Vagga. So Appamada is translated as heedfulness, at least in many of the books, heedlessness, but it also implies mindfulness. And because heedfulness is, maybe not such a common word in English, and because we're studying the Dhamma, mindfulness, of course, everybody has heard about mindfulness. So and Achan Sumedo actually wrote a very nice little booklet about, mindfulness is the path to the deathless. So these, I'm going to recite these first three verses of the Appamada Vagga, because these first two verses happen to be my favorite verses, you could say, in the whole Dhammapada. So again, I'm going to recite them, and then we'll go over the meaning and look at the stories. Appamado amatta padam pamado machuno padam appamatta namiyanti ye pamata yatamata etam visesato nyatava appamadam hi pandita appamadi pamudanti areyanam gochare rata tejayino satatika nityam daha parakama pusanti dira nibbanam yogakkemam manuttaram. So I'm going to read the English meaning of these. Mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Unmindfulness is the path to death. The mindful do not die. The unmindful are as if dead already. So understanding this excellence of mindfulness, the wise person dwells therein, enjoying the bliss beyond birth and death. And those wise persons, constantly mindful and meditative, the ever steadfast ones, holding steadfastly to the Dhamma, they realize the bond-free, supreme Nibbana. So I'm going to try to maybe clarify the meaning of these sutras. Well, then I'll first of all I'll read the story behind this first verses. So it seems that in the time of the Buddha there was a jealous queen. So normally kings in those days had many consorts, and the queens, there might have been 2 or 3 that he would, have. And one of them was a jealous queen named Magandia. So she might have been one of the king's favorite ones. But then there was another queen named Samavati, who was a more innocent type of person, maybe not so puffed up and conceited or arrogant or very, very gentle temper. And maybe the king also liked her because she was a more gentle in terms, and Magandia was a little bit more, domineering or possessive, and so on. So this Magandia developed a jealousy toward this Samavati. Maybe she wished she had her qualities but couldn't. And then somehow this Magandia caused this Samavati to be burnt alive. Now, of course, that sounds quite horrible. It is quite horrible, but in those days, sometimes the punishments meted out in those days make ours seem tame. We may think there's a lot of barbarians in this country, but 2,000 years ago, even if you read a lot of the stories, they make some of our uncruel punishments look tame. But anyway, so and then the king heard about this, that this Magandia burnt this other gentle, innocent sort of one of his queens. And then the king then subjected Magandia to a worse death. Now, in this particular book, it didn't specify exactly how the king had this Magandia put to death. But then the monks who had heard about this incident, they wanted to know which of the 2 was actually alive and which was actually dead. And the Buddha explained that the heedless, like Magandia, that means not being able to control their passions and their jealousies and other things, and of wrong motives, and then committing those heinous acts, that these kind of people are regarded as already being dead. I try to explain that in a minute. While the heedful, like Samavati, should be regarded as alive. So that is the sort of the story behind the actual verses. Now, when you say mindfulness is the path to the deathless, because mindfulness is a quality of being constantly awake, and basically awake to the present moment. So we all know that mindfulness is a state of alertness, is a mental state of alertness. But it's the mind's natural state. And the reason why it's alert, because it's not clinging to various things that are coming and going. So normally if we get in a pain on our body, then our mind gets sucked into that pain. Oh, that pain, oh, man. And we forget about other things around us. So therefore we become dead to the world around us because our mind is absorbed in whatever, whether it's a physical pain or if it's absorbed in a sound or if it's absorbed in your thoughts, then you become dead to the world around you. But in a state of mindfulness, the mind remains very awake and all the six senses are, awake. And the attention is able to be aware of many things coming and going through the senses almost simultaneously. It's like being able to see in a mirror. Let's say you have a big wall mirror. And let's say that wall mirror was covered in dust. You didn't clean it for a long time. Or, you go into a room you hadn't been into and the mirror all covered with dust. So it doesn't reflect very well. It's hard to see the images reflecting in that. And so that's the way most people's minds are, because they're under the influence of the five hindrances. So they don't remain in that awake, alert state. But mindfulness is like, cleaning the mirror. You wipe all the dust off and the mirror gains its intrinsic, bright, reflective quality. So in the same way, when we're mindful, and that means we're not being dragged away into the past and future. So the mindfulness means being centered and grounded in the present moment. Knowing what is coming through the senses, but not getting dragged away by them. And so therefore, because we're not being dragged away and losing our mind in the distractions and like and dislike and daydreams, the mind becomes very alert and very alive. Like you can feel, the whole body. You can feel many, many sensations in the body almost all the time. You can be aware of sounds and thoughts moving through the mind without getting lost into them. So it's a very alert and alive state. So that's the meaning of this phrase that mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Although, when we start practicing it, of course, we haven't achieved that high degree of mindfulness, but as we practice, that it means it's the path to the deathless. So mindfulness is the path to the deathless. So by practicing mindfulness, but only at the time that you realize arahantship, that you actually do attain the state of the deathless awareness. That means it's the awareness that doesn't come and go. That's not, consciousness is not being born and then dying away. You reach that, what's called the amata Dhamma, the deathless state. In the original state, it was never born, and so it doesn't die. Death is only for things that are born. That means born without wisdom and born with in that bondage to their karma that they have accumulated. Okay, so mindfulness is the path to the deathless. And so when one has developed the mindfulness in all four postures, sitting, standing, walking, laying down, practicing all the mindfulness of all your very various movements, then as you get into that, and of course that takes most people probably several years or more to cultivate, Although in long retreats, one can do that as well, even in the space of some weeks or a month or so. But anyway, so to have that sort of continuous, unbroken mindfulness is what is the kind of mindfulness and clear comprehension, these factors of enlightenment, the first few factors of enlightenment. So, and then the next part, unmindfulness is the path to death. So, what is the meaning of unmindfulness is the path to death? Well, because many people wind up dying because of their unmindfulness, isn't it? If you're not mindful of where you're walking and you walk into the middle of the busy road and get hit by a car, well, that's the meaning of mindfulness is the path to death. I mean, unmindfulness is the path to death, right? You weren't aware where you were walking. Or you're unmindful of your speech and you call the wrong person a certain name and they might stab you. Or worse. Or any of the precepts. So, through unmindfulness, we break the precepts. Whether it's harming and killing others, it's stealing, lying, sexual misconduct. Any of these things can bring death by the people that you have offended by it, or their relatives, or by the government, capital punishment. So that's one meaning of, that's the gross meaning, okay? Unmindfulness is the path to death. Of course, even the mindful will die physically, but that's another. We'll mention that later. So, and also, when your mind is unmindful and you're lost in the hindrances, as I've already mentioned at the beginning, it's like you're dead to the world around you. And you're just caught up, woe with me, oh, what am I gonna do? You're dead to the world around you. Or you're just totally lost in your own egoic thoughts. Or you're worrying about that itch, and basically, you become oblivious to everything around you. So that's also another meaning of you're dead to the world. In that meaning, mindfulness is the path to death. But the real meaning of it is also, so it's mental death. In other words, there's physical death and then there's mental death. And mental death means you're just lost in whatever preoccupied object, not necessarily concentration, but just the normal type of mind being obsessed and plagued by the hindrances. And even if you sleep too much, then also the mind is almost like death, because you're not conscious. So it means you've lost that alert, bright, alert, centered connection to the present moment. Because that's where life is, actually. That's real living, is when the mind is grounded and centered in the present moment. You're connected with the life force itself, the total life force. It's all around you, in your bubbling through the veins of your body, and where even everything around becomes very vibrant and clear. And that energy, you have a lot of energy, not always kind of just nodding out. That's kind of a death too, plagued by sleepiness and other defilements. Again, we're talking from the Dhamma point of view. So, so the unmindful are as if they're dead already, dead in terms of dead to the Dhamma. And then the next verse was, so understanding this excellence of mindfulness, the wise person dwells therein. That means they make that their main shtick. so to speak. You know, the pastures. So last week we were talking about the mindfulness being the pastures. You've gone to the wrong pasture, like those cows, the cow herd, right? Not skilled in pastures. So last Wednesday's sutta class was on the qualities of the cow herd, being skilled in pastures. And those specifically mean skilled in the four pastures of mindfulness: the pasture of the body, the pasture of feelings, the pasture of mental states, and the pasture of Dhamma, which virtually includes everything that you could possibly even experience. So dwells therein means dwelling in that mindfulness and being centered and grounded in the stream of living consciousness. And that's also the sort of the theme of this Thanksgiving retreat that I'll be leading this weekend, the awareness of living and dying. But living is really the present moment awareness. It's alive and vibrant, not getting caught and pulled into the past and future. That's real living. Not just waking up in the morning and eating food and going around doing things, but most of the time we're unmindful when we're doing that. So from the Dhamma point of view, that wouldn't be considered real living. Real living is being grounded in the living awareness of present moment awareness. So the wise person dwells therein, enjoying the realm beyond birth and death, because that state of the deathless state, of course, only an arhat is dwelling in that permanently, but on a little bit lesser level than, or intermittently, we can have a good level of mindfulness, which is approaches that state. And all those four stages of liberation get one closer to that, to living fully in that level of mindfulness. So that's what, understanding this excellence of mindfulness. That's why you have to have the understanding. Once you get a taste of that, you have to have discernment, and you know what it's like to be unmindful. You keep on bumping into this and then scraping yourself and getting into problems because you're unmindful. But then once you become really mindful, and you see how most of those unmindful things, are getting less and less, then you really understand the excellence of mindfulness. Because again, it's the natural state of the consciousness, except we've lost it through the course of evolution. We've lost the touch with that. And I've given other talks about how that came about, even in this life, when the baby's born, its mind is in a more kind of alert state, except when it's sleeping, of course. But usually, at least the baby's mind isn't so much discriminating things and so on. And so it's in a more open state for a while. So that is those first two verses, enjoying the bliss beyond birth and death. And that means, again, just the present moment awareness that it doesn't come and go. That connection to the present moment, which starts by being grounded in the body. That's what leads to that. That's why the continuous practice of mindfulness of the body leads to the deathless state as well. And even the four foundations of mindfulness and the Mindfulness of the Body Sutra are the only two sutras really where the Buddha actually said this practice of mindfulness leads to the deathless. And he said that with the 4 foundations of mindfulness, but he said that with the mindfulness of the body itself, if one practiced that and perfected that. And the reason is because the body is always in the present moment. So if you're totally connected and aware of the body at all times, then because that's the present moment, the body is always just in the present moment. So just feeling the sensations, and any of them will do, any one of the billions of sensations that could be available. That's the connection to present moment awareness. And then that's what allows you to observe your feelings and mental states and the subtle dhammas. So anyway, let's just go on to that third verse that I recited. That the constantly meditative, the constantly mindful and meditative, those who are steadfast in the Dhamma, they realize the bond-free supreme Nibbana. So basically, that's also what I was just kind of trying to explain there with the other verses. And so that appamada, the heedfulness or the mindfulness, again, that's why that's called, at the beginning of the Satipatthana Sutta, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The Buddha said, this is the direct way to the overcoming of sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair, for entering the right path. That means the path of awareness, the path of present moment attention. So now if anybody has any questions on any of those verses, then you could ask a question on the chat.
Bhante, I put a question in the chat, but it's not showing. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I see it down below the information on the Thanksgiving retreat. Why is it so easy to be preoccupied with useless, damaging thoughts? Being well aware you are being unmindful. Well, yeah, we can be mindful that we're unmindful, but that's only a low level of mindfulness. If it was really a developed level of mindfulness, that mindfulness would interrupt the preoccupation with the other thoughts. But at least if you're mindful that you're unmindful, that's better than being unmindful that you're unmindful. So at least to that extent, you got one toe in the door, a toe in the door opening. And it just shows you how deeply conditioned and a program our minds are, and how we've let it get, by not paying attention to our mind from birth or even from previous lifetimes. That's why much of humanity that's why the world is in the state of affairs that it's in. And it's because all these kind of habits and preoccupations have gone unchecked, and people are just keep re-strengthening them all the time because of their delusion, because of the wrong views. The wrong and right view, wrong view is the source of everything. And because when our views are wrong, our thoughts will be wrong. When the thoughts are wrong, the speech will be wrong. When the speeches are wrong, our actions are going to be wrong. When the actions are wrong, our livelihood's going to be wrong. That's why right view, that's why the Noble Eightfold Path starts with right view. And right view has 3 levels. the intellectual level that gets you started. Then the reflective wisdom that comes when we meditate and we read the suttas and we contemplate the meanings of them. That helps to cement this more in your mind. And then eventually, the deep realizations that cut through the defilements. And even though, people can be practicing meditation for years and years and years, they still feel that they haven't made much progress in terms of the mind. And, there's no one can really, explain that. It's all part of kind of, the karmic conditioning of the past and also of the present and how we live and so on. So, it's easier to do, and there's a saying actually, it's easy to do what is bad for you and difficult to do what is good for you. Even though it sounds kind of ironic, but that's true. It's easy to pick up bad habits, right? Kids pick up bad habits quite easily by listening to their friends at school or watching TV, and they see these things and glorify this and that. And, they pick up these habits that are then difficult to give up. And it's hard to start things that are good for you, but easy to give them up. How many times did people, start yoga and after a month gave it up for whatever reason? Maybe they had a death in the family, they got preoccupied, or they had started meditating and then they gave it up for one reason or the other, maybe some legitimate reason, but then when that reason went away and they should have come back and restarted it, they didn't, at least not immediately. And then they got sunk back into their habits of thinking. And then only when something else comes up, they grab meditation or yoga like a crutch, But when everything is going good, people don't pay attention to the yoga or meditation because, they have the wrong view of it. That meditation and yoga is a preventive thing, not a cure. I was talking to some people about that even just this morning. But that's the general idea because that's the way it's taught a lot, mindfulness for overcoming your anger, mindfulness for overcoming your hypertension, and use mindfulness. So they think it's just some kind of a cure. And that's not the way the Buddha meant it. Although yes, it's a cure for ignorance, greed, and hatred, but it's more of a preventive to prevent these negative states from overcoming us. Of course, we have to weak them and eventually kind of cure, but the attitude should be we do it for prevention. So before you've let your mind get too far entrenched in negative habits and thoughts, that's why like kids should be taught yoga and meditation, especially meditation as a way to, and mindfulness, which they are a little bit now, but not enough. That if they had a practice of meditation when they're young, they could then, prevent their mind from getting so far gone that it's very difficult to then change it. And unfortunately, that's what we see in a lot of people. Okay. Anybody else have a question they want to unmute themselves to ask? Or we can also go on to a couple more verses that I had in mind.
There are a few more questions in the chat box.
Is it? How can we work on letting go of identity belief? Listen to next Wednesday's Sutta class. Mahasachaka Sutta. It's all about that. And basically it comes down to regarding the five aggregates as this is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself. People take this to be some cute little slogan. No, It's absolutely the essence of your mind. You know, they think the five aggregates, some pie in the sky thing. That's but no, it's you. Every second of the time, the five aggregates. That's all. That's all you have. And you have to learn how to identify them, and you disidentify with being the owner of them. The whole Dhamma is focused on that. But anyway, this sutta on this Wednesday night is that's what it's about. Part of it is about that. So, but there's no other belief. People want can you tell me something easier? Give me something easier. Give me something more clear. You can't be more clear. It can't be easier than that. Why can't you just look at your body and say, this is not me, this is not myself? Can you tell your body not to be sick? You could tell it, but it's still going to get sick if the conditions are right? Or can you prevent the painful feelings in your body from arising? Well, if you do some yoga, you can help minimize them, but even yogis will get pains in their body. So we cannot control anything that you cannot control. That was the Buddha's definition of no self. If you cannot control it, how can you call it yourself? Now, that may be the Buddha's definition. Other people might say, well, that's kind of weird or strange or something. But that was the Buddha's definition of how he classified things as these are not self, because no one owns them or controls them ultimately. I mean, we can manage them a little bit. We can say, yes, this is my mind. I can control my thoughts to a certain extent, but not totally, not until you're an arahant. Okay. So that's how you work on letting go of identity belief, that you do the 4 foundations of mindfulness, and you memorize that this is not mine, form is not mine, myself, me or mine or myself. Feelings are not me, mine or myself. Thoughts are not me, mine or myself. My emotions are not me, mine or myself. And all those categories of Dhammas. So that's what I would say, because that's the Buddha's instruction. You can't get away from it. Everywhere you look in the suttas, that's what the Buddha is saying. Probably the most recurring stanza that you'll find in the Pali Canon. This is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself. In terms of in regard to the 5 aggregates.
Bhante,
Yes.
So that's what the 4 foundation of mindfulness is, right? That's what we need to be mindful of. All this, like you mentioned, like feelings and dhammas, and then.
But it starts with the body. You have to get first grounded in the body, because the body and nervous system are where all the feelings and mind states and dhammas arise. So you got to put the cart in front of the horse. You got to start with the body. A lot of people say, the body, who needs that? Just give me Dhamma, give me the mind. And they jump into that, but later they have to go back to square one, at least a lot of the time. The Buddha taught it that way, as a step-by-step progress. It's very clear. And the reason is each one is a stepping stone to the next. Now, once you develop mindfulness of the body, then you don't have to keep on doing it, because you're already totally centered in the body. So you don't have to go on trying to do it, because your mind is already there. And so it doesn't have to spend too much time saying, oh, this is head here, this is body here, this is my foot, and so on.
So from that foundation, Bhante, we will practice not me, not mine, not myself, whatever is arising, just like a reflection, as you say.
Yeah, it's easier to say that with the body. So it's easier to know how this body dies, and then it's a corpse, and okay. Feelings are a little bit harder. Mental states are a little bit harder. And the dhammas are even harder. And so that's why we start with the easier things first, the body, which is closest to us. And then that's a stepping stone to the subtler ones, which are feelings. The mind states are subtler than the feelings. And the Dhammas are, subtler than that, or, are seen from that level.
Thank you, Bhante.
What I find difficult is to maintain mindfulness when stronger emotions occur in daily life. How can this be learned better? You start with the weaker emotions. So we start with the weaker things. Like we start with mindfulness of the body, because that's, we can actually feel the body, we can see it and so on. Or with the mild anger. So, we start out with mild anger. Don't immediately try to be mindful of a rage. First, you got to start with something small, a little irritation, an itch. And then just observe that. Oh, I can tolerate this itch. Just watch it, relax around it. And then the itch goes away. Oh, yeah, that's cool. I did that. Then you start something stronger. Then you go to stronger pain. A pain somewhere, Number 3 pain, number 4 pain. When you can tolerate those without getting disturbed, you bumping up to a number 6 pain. And then finally to a number 10 pain, when you can tolerate excruciating pain. But you're building up the tolerance to it. So the same way with your emotions, your sadness, or your depression, melancholy, or greed and lust, you can't just immediately overcome the strongest ones or all of them. You have to start out small and gradually build up your strength. It's like you can't immediately go grab 200-pound barbell and press it over your head, right? You got to spend a long time building up the muscle. So it's the same way with the practice of meditation. So we train on the smaller things that are kind of doable, like the minor aches and pains that come up and itches and scratches, or minor sounds, and not getting upset when somebody in your house is making some sound disturbing your meditation. Send them metta or something. There's all kind of opportunities for doing that. But once we're able to do that relatively quickly and easily, then you'll be able to do it then for stronger ones. Question from Fabiana. How can we help people to have an experience that can allow them to really get out of the neurotic push to the future? Most are so dispersive, hyperactive. That's why the M&Ms are the best thing. I can't believe why people can't practice M&Ms. It's the most accessible and immediate thing for calming down. Because anytime you find yourself kind of getting excited and anxious, stop, boom, just stop. And take a deep, slow breath. Why can't, it's a miracle pill. You take one deep, slow breath. You can't move while you're taking a deep, slow breath. And hold the air into your lungs several seconds. And then let it out. By the time you've let out the breath, if you can take 10 or 12 seconds just to, breathe in slowly, hold the air in the lungs, breathe out slowly, pause. By the time you're finished with that, you forgot what you were worrying about. You'd have forgot that urge to want to scratch and itch. Try it. It's really the miracle pill. If there was any miracle pill, that would be it in terms of what we're talking about how to just pause, and it's all right there. It's immediately doable because that's what you're doing anyway. You just make an effort to do it. Put the beepers on. There's plenty of apps now that remind you every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, every hour to have a bird chirping or something to to remind you. And I can't repeat that enough. There's nothing else that I've ever tried that works that immediately and that effectively. But you have to do it over and over and over again. Doing the M&Ms, and you can listen to my past talks about M&Ms. But basically it means stopping at least once an hour for 1 minute, and just coming back to the present moment, to the body. That's the connection to the present moment. That's how you get out the neurotic push to the future. Whenever you notice that, and that's part of mindfulness. That's being mindful. Oh, I'm thinking about the future too much. Stop. You feel that, that kind of, it's like somebody's got a hand is behind you, constantly pushing on you, faster, faster, faster. Right? You have to notice that and just freeze in your tracks. And take a couple of deep, slow breaths. Just come back to standing, breathing in, standing, breathing out, standing. May all beings be well, peaceful, wise. Again, just for 1 minute will calm you down. And I'm sorry, if they can't do that, I'm sorry. It might be hopeless. And you may not have to hear that, but I think it's true. Or you want to carry your sensory deprivation tank around with you on top of your car and climb in that every time you're getting anxious. Doing an M&M is a lot easier than that. We were talking about sensory deprivation things at one time, some time ago, about as a method to get away from distractions. Okay. So anybody have any last questions about this subject? I was going to go on to just do another verses 6 and 7.
There are some questions, but I think you answered it.
Did I answer them?
Like, in a way, with M&Ms, there is some answer right there, but you want to just...
Is there another question came up?
Yeah, from Klaus.
What I find difficult is to maintain mindfulness when stronger emotions occur. I talked about that. You have to start on the lesser, stronger emotions. And when you can master them, then you'll be able to then deal with the stronger ones when they come up. That's what I was saying, that you have to train yourself. It's a training. That's why it's all about training. Even a Sotapanna, once returners and never returners, are called trainees. They're still training their mind, let alone putujanas, people who haven't even reached any kind of level. It's a constant training. Okay, I'm just going to read this one last verse. Pamadamanu yunjanti bala dumedino jana appamadancha mednavi danam setam varakati ma pamadamanu yunjeta ma kamarati santavam appamato hijayanto papoti vipulam sukam. So the meaning of these are, The ignorant, foolish people indulge in heedlessness. The wise person guards earnestness or heedfulness or mindfulness as the greatest treasure. Indulge not in heedlessness. Have no intimacy with sensuous delights. Verily, the earnest meditative person obtains abundant bliss. So, these are, the recurring verses and, admonitions of the Buddha, because, his whole teaching again is about the cause of suffering is selfish greed, directed at satisfying the individual ego's craving for sensual pleasure and getting away from the painful feelings. And the whole life revolves around that. So it's overcoming that and developing, through the practice of mindfulness, heedfulness, and developing, of course, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. And then you gradually reach that level. Okay, I'll just read the story that pertains to those verses. It said, at a certain time of year in India, it was a custom of some people to indulge in harsh speech for fun for 7 days, irrespective of persons. Now, I haven't personally heard about this kind of a custom where people indulge in harsh speech, but you could say it could even be like the holiday of Holi, where people throw paint on each other and so on. It becomes really crazy, people get inebriated and they go around throwing paint and colored powder on any stranger walking down the street. I've seen that myself, actually, and there's a monk walking down the street in a certain place, some young kids were going to come up to throw paint on me, and I just put up my hand like that, and they kind of stopped. And they went away, they didn't do that. But anyway, so during that time, this week of chaos, the Buddha and his disciples stayed in the monastery. So the Buddha always said, whenever there's chaos and, this kind of stuff going on, don't go out there and mix up in the crowds, because then, some kind of unpleasantness is going to come from that. So after that week, when the Buddha was staying in the monastery, the devotees, the disciples of the Buddha, came and brought alms, to the monastery. And they thought, oh, the Buddha and his monks, you had to stay, you missed all the fun, and, oh, you must be despondent, you missed all the fun. You must have had an unpleasant time, no visitors. And then the Buddha answered them with these verses and said that despite such foolish actions, the wise person ever lives heedfully. So, let the other people be unmindful and unheedful and stuff like that. We will be heedful and mindful and maintain our inner tranquility. So, okay. Any last final question? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and take a few minutes break. And maybe during that time, if a question comes up before we start our exercises, we might try to do that. Otherwise, so we'll take a few minutes and come back, okay? You don't seem to be moving there, Mark.
I don't know. I don't.
No.
Bhante, you have to unmute yourselves. You have to unmute yourselves. We cannot hear you, Bhante. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, Bhante. Thank you, Bhante.
So just feel your feet pressing the floor. Just getting the mind grounded, centered in the body. Feel your arms and hands hanging at the side. Feel your head balanced on top of the neck. Try to mentally feel that outline of the standing body. Then begin some deep, slow breathing. Take 3 or more seconds to draw the air from the lower lungs up into the upper chest. Feel that expansion in the upper chest. Hold the air in the lungs for a few seconds. And feel the relaxing contractions of the out breath. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. On the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch your head back to look up at the ceiling. Stretch upward. The out breath, turn the palms down, touch the top of the head. Feel the sensations. Again, in breath, palms up, straighten the arms, head back. Arch the back a little bit. Out breath, touch the head. In. Third time, hold that upward, stretch longer. And release the fingers, the out breath, arms back to the sides. Just relax. Just keep feeling the body, feel the increased body sensation. Just remember the present moment of standing, standing, standing. And the next in breath, push up on the toes while raising the arms up over the head in this way, facing the hands toward each other about 6 inches apart. Stretch. Out breath, arms back to the sides, heels to the floor. Use the breathing to help lift and lower the body. In breath up. Out. In. feeling sensation. Remember standing. Letting go of your thoughts. Let the thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Just keep the feeling of the living body in the front of the awareness. And next, we spread the legs apart a few feet, wider the better. We'll do twisting to each side. Laterally twist the spines. Breathe in. Look to the right on the out breath. Twist around to the right as far as you can. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. On the in-breath, come back to the front. Let the feet turn with the body. And the next out-breath, the other side. In-breath. Again to the right, out-breath. In. Out. In. With the out breath, lower the arms. Just feel the increased sensations in your shoulders, the chest. Or just any place else. The activated life force, cellular vibrations. It's actually the real life. You can feel the pulsation, cellular vibrations. It's the real living. Now, one last exercise. Backward and forward bending. You have to be careful with this, not to bend back too far the first time. And turn the palms outward. Now, on an in-breath, you make a gradual V or opening of the arms outward as you bend back and bring the arms out to the sides. Try to look up at the ceiling. Then carefully lift up, breathe in, lift up, keep the arms out. On the out breath, lower the hands down by the floor, toward the floor as far as you can reach. You keep the legs straight. Lower spine stretch out. And begin standing up again. Turn the palms outward, make the gradual V as you bend back. Breathe in, lift up. Out breath, hands to the floor. Once more, standing up, palms outward, Taking the arms out to the side. In breath, out breath. And to finish, as you stand up, bring the hands together at the chest. In the out breath, arms back to the sides, relax. Feel the whole body. Just remember standing, standing. Okay, we'll come back to our seats. Get ready for the sitting meditation. Okay, friends, so we'll start our meditation. I just try to sit straight, keeping the back and the head in a straight line. Turn off my video again. So just gently close the eyes. Or bring your attention down to feel where the buttocks press the seat. Just feel that solid contact, the weight of the body pressing the seat. And feel your feet and toes underneath, where they touch the floor. Just try to feel some sensations in your feet and toes. Just sort of the living life in the body. We're just first part of the meditation, trying to tune in to the life process in the body, is different body sensations. Develop the ability to focus our attention on one spot for some seconds without getting lost. We bring the attention up to feel your hands and fingers. And feel the outline of your thumbs or fingers. You feel the subtle pulsations or tingling vibrations in the hands or fingers. That's life. The blood pulsing, giving life force to all the cells, oxygen. And feel the weight of the arms hanging from the shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Feel where the clothing rubs against the skin of the shoulders, producing sensation. Now feel your head balanced on top of the neck. And feel your face, the skin of the face. Just imagine the skin stretched over the front of your skull. Feel some sensations, subtle prickling sensation. And focus on the lips. Feel where the lips touch together. The upper lip touches the lower lip. Feel sensations of either dryness or moistness of the lips. It's just raw sensations. A living process. Sensations are just, molecules interacting with each other, producing sensation, keeping this body alive. And feel the tongue laying in the mouth. You feel your gums or teeth. It's like turning up the power of a microscope. Try to feel some subtler sensations. The raw life force vibration. This living body. Now feel your nose, the outer nose. And also take some deep, slow breaths to try to feel the air moving through the nostrils. If you breathe deep enough, you might also hear the sound of the air moving through the nostrils, the lungs. taking that fresh oxygen into the body, when the blood takes it out to the cells of the body. It's the real living process. Let's try to feel or imagine that. Hold the breath in the lungs a couple of seconds. Imagine all that oxygen going into the blood stream and out to the cells of the body, charging them up with life force. From the moment we're born to the moment we die, as breathing is going on thousands of times per day, keeping its body alive, but we hardly ever know it. Why not? Because we're not grounded and centered in the body. We're disconnected from life, the real life process. Just continue the deep breathing. Just feel the eyes resting in the socket, and the eyelids stretched over the eyeball. Kind of gaze around and through the eyes, feeling the subtle sensation. You might see some color, patterns. You might feel the subtle eye movements, REMs, with the blood pulsing in the capillaries of the eyeballs or eyelids. That subtle life force. Now, from that point behind the eyes, allow the awareness to open up a bit, to feel the outline of the whole body. See if you can kind of feel the general vague outline of the sitting body, the sensations of the buttocks and feet pressing the floor underneath, the arms and hands at the sides, clothing rubbing against the skin in different places, and the head balanced on top. All these different sensations could be noticed. Give that perception of the living body, the breathing body. Just try to hold that kind of feeling of body outline in the mind's eye. Just remember sitting, sitting, sitting. It's the present moment of this body sitting and breathing. This breathing body is the natural connection to present moment awareness. And then again begin some deep, slow breathing. Let it take at least 3 seconds to slowly breathe in, drawing the air from the lower lung up to the top of the lungs, expanding the upper chest. Hold the air in the lungs 2 or 3 seconds to allow for the oxygenation of the blood and feel the relaxing contraction of the out breath. And feel the last bit of air go out of the lungs with the out breath. And then the next in breath. Just take a few more deep, slow breaths like that, cultivating this basic mindfulness. And breathing in, letting go of the past and future. And breathing out, sitting here and now. And breathing in, letting go of the past and future. And breathing out, sitting here and now. And breathing in, feeling the whole body. And breathing out, feeling the whole body. I'll try to develop a better concentration. I'm going to count the breaths from 1 to 10. Just keep the attention focused on the breathing process. With the next expanding in breath, mentally count 1. With the contracting out breath, count 1. The next expanding in breath, 2. Contracting out breath, 2. Next in breath, 3. Out breath, 3. In breath, 4. Out breath, 4. In breath, 5. Out breath, 5. In breath, 6. Out breath, 6. breath 7. In breath 8. Out breath 8. In breath 9. Out breath 9. In breath 10. Out breath 10. Now discontinue the counting. Discontinue any deep breathing or controlling the breath. Just let the breathing return to its uncontrolled pattern. But continue to follow. Continue to feel the subtle expanding and contracting sensations in the abdomen, the rib cage, your chest. Like turning up the power of a mental microscope, zero in on us. Sensations, the clothing rubbing against the skin of the belly, rib cage, your chest, as it expands and contracts, generating sensation. Try to make that the main focus of your concentrated awareness. Just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. You know it by feeling it, feeling the sensations of breathing. Try to feel the 4 phases of each breath, the expanding in breath and the brief pause, the contracting out breath and the brief pause. You can use these brief mental notes to help stay focused. Just breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Mindfulness is to remember, just remembering the present moment. This is the most basic present moment. This body is sitting and breathing here and now. Literally right beneath your nose. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Just make that the primary focus of one's concentrated mindfulness, alertness. And this breathing is occurring within the larger body. Is contemplating the body in the body. the breathing body within the larger sitting body. So when the lungs are expanding, the whole body tends to kind of expand, sending rippling sensations across the chest, body. Try to tune in to that living process. It's the real living process. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Moment by moment, breath by breath. Just letting your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Just keep sensations of the breathing body in the front of the awareness. So many different little sensations can be noticed. And even while feeling the breathing, you could notice other little sensations on the body, prickling or itching sensation, the clothing touching the skin on different places. It doesn't interfere with your concentration. Just try to notice how each breath is different. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter, to help you stay more alert by noticing that. Sometimes you feel it more in the abdomen, other times you feel it in the chest, or the rib cage. It's always changing. Be like a scientist sitting in the laboratory looking down the microscope. This body is the meditator's laboratory. And the mind is one's microscope. Concentrated mind, it's like looking down to the microscope. Focus on the object. And with each out breath, just allowing the body and mind to relax more and more into the present moment, feeling subtler, finer sensations, vibrations, life force vibration, cellular vibration. Breathing is always there in the middle, but all around it, so many other sensations can be noticed on your head, your arms, legs, and feet. gradually open up to that flow of life, that living process just beneath the skin. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. That ongoing connection to the present moment. Sensations come and go. Thoughts come and go. Perceptions come and go. Pleasure and pain comes and go. Sleepiness comes and goes. These are all just continuous change and permanence of this body, mind, and world. Through this breathing body. And just underneath all of that constant change, mental chaos, drowsiness, the parallel dimension of the now. Present moment awareness. It's always there, waiting for us to come back home. Come home to the present moment, which is the real life. This breathing body is like the anchor of a ship. The ship is our conditioned mind. The chain and the anchor of mindfulness, which is embedded in the body, ocean floor. This breathing body is the life preserver or the lifeline, the anchor to the present moment. If we lose that connection to the present moment, the mind easily gets lost in the waves of past and future thinking, neurotic thinking, greed, hatred, deluded thought. Whenever there's too many thoughts, the mind gets a little drowsy. Come back and take some deep, slow breaths. Help stay connected, grounded in the body. Staying connected, breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Breath by breath, moment by moment. If you have a good sense of concentrated awareness, being able to notice the stream of thoughts and sensations coming and going. And just try to feel the body and mind like being an empty house. There's so many things knocking on the doors and windows, but nobody's home to answer the call. But there's a sensitive microphone or a seeing eye camera in the house that knows what's going on yet doesn't know, cannot react, but it knows. That's awareness. Try to keep up with that flow of impermanence, moment by moment. The breathing is still there in the middle, but all around it, sounds are arising and vanishing, body sensations arising and vanishing. Thoughts, urges, ideas arising and vanishing. This mindfulness is the path to the deathless. It means the awakened awareness. So what sensations, feelings, or perceptions are triggered off by that contact? Sabbi sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasati atanibindati dukhi isamago visuddhiyam. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent, arising only to vanish and pass away. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity, to freedom. And thus spoke the Buddha. Now to finish this meditation, as we normally do, is just send out thought vibrations of metta, friendliness, kindness, best wishes toward our own body and mind and all other beings. So again, take a few deep, slow breaths. After really expanding the lungs, hold the air in the lungs several seconds. Imagine that as being metta, the oxygen going to your cells, the blood, and carried out to all the cells of the body, bringing them happiness, life force. And feel the relaxing contractions of the out breath. Just try to take several breaths like that, just flooding your whole body, mind, nervous system with these pure energy, pure awareness, wisdom, and feeling the relaxation on the out breath. Just with the idea, may I be well, peaceful, and wise. May I have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. And continue to deepen my understanding of the Dhamma, the practice of meditation, to help free the mind from confusion and suffering. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. And if you can, try to continue a few more deep breaths, and with each out breath, just imagine sending these same thought vibrations out to your parents, family members, relatives, good friends, and eventually spreading it out across the whole world. Just after breathing in, hold the air in, just imagine as you're holding in the air and breathing out, those vibrations of metta, pure wisdom, love, energy going outward, entering the bodies and minds of all those beings, soothing the fires of their greed, hatred, and delusion, soothing their pains of suffering, and awakening the seed of love and wisdom in their heart. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. May all beings have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May all beings be able to hear the teachings of the Dhamma, to practice meditation, to help free their minds from confusion and suffering. May all beings be able to live peacefully and harmoniously together, understanding the truths of the Dhamma, the interconnectedness and interdependence of all things. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. It's like a mantra reverberating throughout space. Well, peaceful, and wise. Now I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times. Slowly, you do the chanting on a long out breath. So if you like, you can put the hands together at the chest and take a deep, slow breath. Now place your hands at the edge of your knees. Take one more deep, slow breath. Stretch your head back and pull the hands against your knees to arch your back. Hold it a few moments. With the in-breath, lift the head up, and on the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest. Feel the sensation. Now the in-breath, lift the chin up level with the floor. On the out-breath, relax. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends. So this brings our Sunday afternoon to an end. But again, meditation never ends, or at least mindfulness shouldn't end, because mindfulness is the path to the deathless. So, in your meditations, or especially try to do those M&Ms, if you've only been doing once or twice a day, try to, make it 3 or 4 times a day, 6 or 7 times a day, 10 or 12 times a day. Go to one of those apps so you can program it to a bird chirping or a bell ringing or some other sound that'll get your attention. When you hear that, just try to freeze, stop whatever you're doing. Just do a minute take a couple of deep, slow breaths, whether you're standing or sitting, and just come back to just breathing in, standing, sitting, breathing out, standing or sitting. If you've been upset in the last hour, send some metta to yourself, others, forgive others who might have did something to you that you're holding on. Or forgive yourself if you didn't do something you should have done, so you don't carry that into the next hour. So we can be alive to the next hour rather than dwelling on the dead past. That's what it means on mindfulness, is the path to death, because you're either thinking of the past or future, and those things are dead. They're not really alive. They're just thoughts in your mind. Okay, so have a nice Thanksgiving. You're gonna have some turkey over there in Deutschland, Klaus?
No.
Nein,
Nothing.
kein Schwein.
No.
Nice. Okay, anyway, whatever. I know many of you won't be able to see your relatives this Thanksgiving because of all the restrictions. So, be thankful that you're alive, and practice an extra hour or two of meditation. And you have that link to our website. So on next Friday and Saturday at least, I'll be giving at least 2 or perhaps 3 sessions of meditations at those times or that are on that notice. So